Right, here's another example of using CLA, constraints-led approach, to make almost immediate motor control changes to manage arm pain and to improve performance. Okay, so here we have a 20-year-old righty college guy, senior in college. He is typically 93. Had started developing biceps pain, indicated that, even hurt when he tried to do pull-ups or push-ups or anything like that. But he developed biceps pain, which then progressed to anterior shoulder pain right on the front of the shoulder, sort of at the insertion of the biceps onto the labrum, and later even developed some lateral elbow pain. Okay, and so whenever we see that kind of presentation, we kind of immediately are suspicious of a linear deceleration pattern, where the biceps raises eccentrically to try to resist the long axis distraction of the humeral head elevation, and then terminal elbow extension. So in my mind, the biceps perhaps progresses to anterior shoulder pain, and then that bang on the lateral elbow, maybe just, sort of a slam of the bone. And so we just began to take a look. Okay, so first thing is, we talk about the trifecta of the holy trinity of the pelvis is hinge it, lock it, close it. And so you can see his first move is pretty good. It's a proximal to distal move, hip first, then knee. He's in a really reasonable hinge right here. And then when his foot hits the ground, though, the second move here, he's got to stop the pelvis from spinning, okay? Which means when the front foot hits the ground, we got to hold that right there. We can't let that wobble, this way, or even bounce back this way. And what you can see here is, boom, knee buckles out to the side. And also another, which means that his pelvis is likely spinning like he's on a carousel ride at the carnival, okay? Another indicator that he hasn't stopped the pelvis is that when the front door of the pelvis stops spinning, the free hand, the glove hand, will freeze in space, and his just kind of flops around as if it's tethered to his front of his pelvis. And so there's no indication that the pelvis has stopped spinning in a transverse plane, okay? Like think merry-go-round or turntable, all right? So normally what we see is the glove will just stop and change directions here, okay? So the result is, now you can see here, he kind of spins off towards second base, toward where the second baseman is, sort of east-west finish. But then watch the arm get linear right there, boom. That's where I think we get a little raging. And these are a little bit out of sync, but you can see on the right frame there, we get the raging of the biceps, the tendon up here screaming, and also that lateral elbow bang right there, okay? And so, but even more importantly, what we see is that, the movement creates the data, right? So as he spins off, you can see what happens to the TrackMan data. Normally a guy with a lot of induced vertical movement, sort of that vertical fastball, his tilt drops down to 115. 86.7, he's usually 90-93. But this number right here, the 16 inches of vert, tells us that he's probably cutting the ball a little bit. Well, why would he be cutting the ball? Because he's spinning off with his pelvis. And that's really the only way to get the ball to home plate, is to straighten the arm out and kind of cut it a little bit. And so we got to figure out how to help him change that. So again, find the bifurcation and perturb it. So the bifurcation, the movement change happens right here when the front of the pelvis does not stop spinning. It spins around. You can see his foot kind of spins off and he goes east-west there. So we got to go perturb that, okay? So we came up with this idea of having him use an unpredictable load and do what we just named this a Clevenger aquaball pitch. And we're going to do this big kind of reciprocal movement finish, okay? So we're just going to bang this. And we had him do it maybe 4 or 5 times right there in the bullpen, just to kind of get the feel for stopping the front door. Remember, the best way to access the motor learning domain is through forces. The language of the body is force and inertia, not posture, position, words, or thoughts. So the big thing is you got to give him a force to deal with. So we did this little move here 4 or 5 times. And then we get back on the mound and we take another look. Okay, so right here, again, still pretty reasonable hinge. Now this time when the front foot hits the ground, that's about weight bearing right there. What we see is not as much of a buckle of the knee. Boom. Hand freezes in space a little better, but not so much that linear pattern here. But you can see here there's no spin off. He just stops right there. You can see he stops himself right there. Doesn't spin off toward the second baseman. And then the TrackMan results kind of tell us, hey, started moving a little bit better there. Okay, so you can see here that it's 1 o'clock tilt now. It's still 86 miles an hour. But look at this 20 inches of vertical movement. That's good. So that means we're getting behind the baseball a little better, backspinning it a little better. And, you know, later on that day, he was able to get up to 89, touching 90, and 20 inches of vertical. And so now he's not having any pain when he throws. You know, he didn't have any more pain the rest of the day there. We'll keep an eye on him for the next few weeks and see how he's doing. But it looks like, you know, in a lot of cases when you have pain in the arm like that, you would shut him down and rest and miss a start and miss an outing. But if you can just change the movement rapidly and get it to stick like this, then maybe we don't have to miss as much time. And so rest is not always the answer. Changing the movement is. Find the bifurcation, perturb it. Just another example of how we use the constraints-led approach to elicit movement changes in our athletes to manage arm pain and also to improve performance. All right, thanks.